Hello world, I'm live, I'm here, I am ready to hopefully make sure that everything goes well. I have a new monitor, I have a new streaming setup, I have a new pretty much everything that you could possibly imagine. I'm really worried that maybe everything isn't perfect, so I'm just going over some of the stuff right now to make sure. I've got proper ducking set, I've got proper video, everything looks good to me so far. So, here's to hoping, y'all. This is my background. Whoops, I just minimized literally everything. And let me get back to here. Oh yeah, there we go. I just started to clip the input. Woo! Off to a fantastic start again. Now that we're here, I hope that you guys are ready to watch, listen, and enjoy this beautiful stream where I'm going to mix a whole song as always from the very beginning, with the exception of I set the session up right before you guys got here, so didn't quite get to that part. So first thing is first, as always, I'm going to set the track manager here, and I'm going to look for stuff that looks like what I want it to be. So generally, ooh, there's a drum bus render. This is my first time playing with these tracks, by the way, so okay. Turn myself down a little bit. Alright, so that's a drum bus render. Now there has to be snare, toms. Where's my kick? Y'all are gonna call me ludicrously silly if I can't find the kick. Oh, there it is. Kick, hi-hat, overhead, Mjolnir. Them's his drums. And I'm going to imagine that these things that say EZ28 and EZ27 are probably also drums. Let's do some rearranging here. I want my hi-hat down here. I want my kick up here. I want my snare there. Everything is as it should be. Let's solo this Mjolnir boy. See what it sounds like. Oh, wow. That's some room. Okay, with some crunchiness to it. 28. Okay, cool. So I know what I'm doing here. I'm treating these boys as drum rooms. Let's arrange those so they all go to the bus and everybody's happy. Aw, yeah. I want to say thank you guys for coming out tonight if you're interested in watching this stream. Really appreciate it. So, I'm just micromanaging here a little bit, making sure that I have everything arranged in a way that makes sense to me. Guitar intros. Not quite what I'm looking for. Clean bass and bass bus. There we go. Now, this ambient stem, I need to make sure that track 24, ambient stem isn't a drum-related thing. It is. Okay, so this is also going to end up going into the drum rooms, so I can build an overall ambient bus for all of the room tracks. Whew, it's been a long time since I did this. Tell you the truth, I'm kind of nervous. I don't think I'll be able to do it as naturally as I did before, because I'm out of practice. It's been a long couple months in quarantine. Cool. So, bass bus already exists, but I'm assuming this was their bass bus, not mine. Yeah, it sounds like a combination of those two tracks, so I could probably just get rid of that. Or I could use it for later. The bass parallel boy. Everybody's favorite bass boy. Excuse the voice, I just had some soda before I streamed. Because, you know, being out of practice isn't enough. I also have to sabotage my vocal performance. Otherwise, am I really even a streamer? Speaking of, was I really even? Is this hi-hat part even exist? Is there anything here? Is it muted? I'm a little concerned. Anything? No hi-hat? Question mark? Well, if I can boost it by 24 dB and there's still nothing, then I guess the hi-hat doesn't exist. So, I am deleting the hi-hat track. That's the fun part about track management here, is you get to get rid of some things that are useless and just taking up space. Speaking of useless things that take up space, I've got the guitars here. Let me just move them. That was mean. I didn't mean that about the actual tracks themselves. I meant that more so as a general thing. See, I play bass, and as any bassist will tell you, the guitars are really just there to support the bass. Because everybody really listens for the bass part. This is another instance where the guitar bus was rendered out as a thing. So I'm just going to get rid of that. Don't need it. Only need the individual components of it. Although I did blend a bus part once with the original tracks to have some kind of parallel thing going on, but sometimes I don't want to have to do that because I don't know what other processing has been done to it, so I'm just going to leave it be. Alright, so screams. Let's see what our handy-dandy scream boys have to say here. Pre-chorus screams, layer, Caleb screams. Alright, and then whoop! Shadoop. Whoop-da-whoop. I did it. There we go. All the screams are there. Yeah, the cool thing about Reaper here is that the track manager makes moving tracks and assigning buses and doing all that stuff super easy. Oh, so nice. Main vocals. Now, I'm not sure which of these is the real thing and which of these is a harmony. Layer 1. Oh, okay, there we go. Layer 1, layer 2, layer 3, layer 2. Alright. So I'm also going to make a background vocals bus. A lead guitar bus. Okay, Alright, so those are lead effects tracks that were brought with them. Let's take all of these things and put them under the moniker of lead guitar. I'm also probably going to affect the solo differently than the rest of the leads, just because it looks like there's enough layers for that one. Alright, speaking of layer, let's get not that one. Not that one, because that's a scream. Alright, verse 2 layer, verse pre-chorus layer, layer 1, layer 2. Alright, so presumably these are all layers on the harmonies. Let's find out. Oh, to be, oh, be, cannot decide, you're just stand up. Huh. So, improper labeling, or rather just labeling that's not how I would want it. It seems as though... Ooh, another blank track. It seems as though we have some more screams that weren't in the scream track because they were labeled verse instead of screams. So let's do this. Let us throw this into the screams track, or bus, and let's see. Is this cleaned?
About what? Because the world doesn't care about what you... To hear them is...
Okay, cool. So those are clean.
You will read my friend.
Also cleans. So these go into the main vocal category. What is this? More screams. Haha. I feel like Sal may have been the screamer.
Once you see death, then you cannot decide.
Nice. So those are cleans. And then these would be what I consider to be background vocals. Nice. So screams. Hello.
Overcome.
Ooh-wee. I can't wait to start actually mixing once I get all this stuff out the way. Alright, that screamed. That is not even a vocal. Okay, moving this to screams. And this should create, presumably, the thing everybody wanted. The screams, all of them in one group. Maybe these layers would be considered background. I'm fairly certain this would be considered as a background vocal, which could probably be processed in a background vocal bus for ease of use.
I'll break up
Alright, and then main vocals.
because the world.
Cool. Now, because of this, I can do the following. Color all the buses to suit my needs. Screams will be pink, of course. Lead guitars will be lead colored, which is probably white, I guess. I don't know. Guitar solo, what are you? Wait, hold on a second. Layer 2. That is probably a background vocal scream because it says layer 2. Nice. Alright, so it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm literally just putting things in buses so that I can more easily gain stage everything and manage movement. Also, guitar intro harmony. What? Guitar intro lead? Oh. Oh, okay. Yeah, cool. Nice. Sweet! Got it. Ooh, I like that tone. That's pretty. Okay, so now it seems I have pretty much everything that I need in a bus, if necessary. Here's a synth, which I'm going to color probably something random. Boom! Another pink, but a brighter pink, darker pink. So let's get these vocals, this synth, these screams, these background vocals, this lead guitar, and these guitar solo parts. Let's grab the bass parallel boy, these rhythms, this bass bus. Let's bring them all down, and let's start from the beginning, boys. Holy lordy. Okay. Alright, now that the first 15 minutes of this is done, which I usually don't show the parts where I do that, so you've been warned that this is a weird one, an unusual stream, if you will. Why the heck are the overheads so quiet? Oh boy. Those are very processed overheads. Very flat though. However, I do want a little bit of beef in there. Usually I'd cut that stuff because there's a lot of it, but in this case, it seems to be a lot. I'm going to pull this down so that it doesn't conflict with the crackiness of the drums, since these drums be plenty cracky. There we go. Very clean. Alright, I saved myself some bandwidth there. Right, on to the rest of the kit. Now, I'm not sure how compressed these overheads are, but I'm going to compress them. How does that sound? Not gonna lie. This kick is, mighty angry already. Look at that boy. I feel like... what can be done to it? Tape. Alright, so I don't know if anybody is tuning in for the first time here, if they just noticed the stream started, or if you're an old-time viewer of mine, but, one thing everybody who knows me knows is that I like tape. So let's get some of that tape in there. It just smooths it out a little, you know? On that note, I feel like there's bleed in this kick. Huh. Weird. Okay, so now that I've run a tape boy, I do want to compress it a little bit, but not for the reason you'd think. I want to give it a little bit more of a slower release so that it has a little bit more dynamics. So that you can actually feel it pump a little bit more, and that it's not consistently like a straight waveform. And that way also, the initial hit hits the hardest, and then after that, it kind of sinks into the background. Lets everything else come in and breathe after that initial punch. Hold on a second. This drum bus up here, I don't like it. I'm gonna get rid of it so that I can hear just the regular stuff. There we go. That was what I was hearing. See, I told you I was gonna make tons of mistakes. This is my first time back. Alright, so I do hear a little bit of something. Just a little bit of that. Gotta cut some of that so that there's room for all the other boys there. And, you know what? I'm feeling kind of frisky today. So I'm gonna boost a little bit of this. That's right, I'm returning natural mid-range to a kick drum. And then, instead of boosting the high end, I'm gonna cut a little bit of the high end I don't like. Alright, and then I'm going to subtly clip it. Subtle clipping. If you're still there, listen for the sound of the clipping kick. Alright, nice. Now that's a lot smoother of a kick, personally. It sounds more natural, but it also sounds a lot more, powerful. Because the distribution of it's different now. Likewise, I feel like I'm going to be unscooping this boy a lot. So, let's do what I love to do and take an API EQ from Waves, turn analog on. Also, I'm going to bring back Hornet tape again because I just can't get enough of that tapey goodness. Now, it's already got a pretty good strong footing in the high end. So for the most part, I'm just going to be blending in some mid-range stuff and contouring the high end a little bit. Changing the floors to regular bells. I'm going to find out where that body is. I like that. Okay. And then I feel like a little bit here will help. And a little bit of 10K boost on the top end, maybe? Just make it sound a little bit... Now this snare is going to be a little bit weird because it already sounds pretty plucky. I like it, don't get me wrong, but it needs a little bit of help. It's real punchy and real, you know, cracky in the top end, though. There's that. It's got that going for it. I do feel like I probably need to design the transient a little bit. There's tons of attack in the high end, but I needed more in the low end. There we go. Now I'm filling it out a little bit more, and I like that. Even though there's bleed, it doesn't really matter to me one way or the other. And then clip it. Clip it like you know its name. Alright. So I need to make sure that the kick and the snare are doing a cute little dance together. I feel like they complement each other a lot better now. That snare is a tough operator. Alright, but we've got it a lot closer to where I wanted it, so I'm happy for now. Toms. Huh. Alright. These toms, they can be whatever they want, but I'm just gonna give them a little bit more head noise so that you can hear them a little bit more clearly in that mid-range. And then I'm actually going to make that 10K a little unbearable and then cut some of that 3K. So let me see if I actually like how that sounds more. Yeah, it just comes out a little bit cleaner, comes out nicer in the mix, in my opinion. And then, no need to clip, I'm limiting them on the bus there, so... Nice. So I think the levels are pretty good. There we go. Alright. So on the drum bus, let me turn up the overheads a little bit. There we go. I'm going to use this compressor. There's a little bit of a ring at 478. just gonna boost the top end and the low end a little bit to bring it up overall. Just that feeling of fatness. And then once that's done, so it pretty much stays where it's supposed to. So that's the dry drum bus. Now it's time for the rooms to shine. And for this one, I'm probably going to use TR5, the T-Rax boys. Oh, what do I want to use? How about the British channel? It's British. Everybody loves British channels. Alright, gonna make it fast attack. Make it hard. Oh yeah, really pump that. Now what I don't like is room tracks that impede on other things. So I'm going to cut this a little bit, smooth out that room. Just raise the air a little bit in the top range. So that way it really emphasizes the push and the pull of it. There we go. Now it's really got some drive. Cool. So that should be pretty useful. I do, however, feel like that snare needs more verb. Give me that little plate. Sound toys. Nice. First plate I saw. Okay, so you, my good snare friend, get this glorious plate. And to make sure that it sounds like a metalcore snare plate, gonna fatten it up on the fundamental a little bit. Cut the heck out of this range, this low mid. Bring it up the high end up there. And cut in 4K. The kids these days hate 4K. Am I ahead of the times or am I behind the times? You decide. Alright, and then I've got this compressor, which is going to keep the level reasonable. With the auto makeup, because I felt like it. There we go. Now you may not like it, but that's what a real snare verb sounds like. And with that dumb joke, I'm on to the bass bus. Let's make it happen, boys. We're speeding along. I'm high passing it because there's only kick information below this point. So I really don't want it to conflict with the kick. Also don't want it to conflict with the snare, which is about right here. Don't want it to conflict with the guitars, which would be right here. Don't want it to conflict with the vocals, which would be right here. I do, however, want it to be angrier. A little more air. I think that this distorted bass right here has the potential to come up a lot. Now, when that says clean bass, I feel like I need to put some kind of bass amp on it. Oh, wow. That's a lot of low end, not as much normal information. I feel like I need to EQ this a lot. And probably excite it too. There we go. A little bit of crunch on the clean boy. Never hurt anybody. So now the distorted boy sounds pretty okay, and this is starting to sound a lot better too. So between the two of them, I do feel like it needs something. And that something may be a preamp. Would anybody be surprised right now if I said I'm doing this through tape? And that I think tape sounds best? Alright, so now we've got that fat bass sound with that little bit of aggression. And now I'm clipping it pretty hard. And I'm going to put this bus compressor on it. There we go. It may be a little compressed for some of y'all's taste, but it will fit pretty well with the drums, I think. I am going to put a limiter on the bass though, just because I don't trust that regular compressor to do the limiting I want. I want a little more aggression out of the bass and a little bit more control. There we go. Alright, now time for guitars, boy. Oh! Such a solid tone. After that purple a little bit. Cut down on that 100 some hertz so that it doesn't conflict with the bass. probably nothing. It's probably just the sound of the guitar that I'm thinking of. I'm gonna boost a little bit of that 2K. And then a high shelf over here, like 8K. Because I like to be able to hear the scream of the guitar. I can't believe I almost forgot to put it tape. Clip the tape and clip the tape. Nice. I go hardcore when it comes to clipping tape. Saturated guitar. I do feel like it's missing a little something. If I boost this and cut this to compensate, it'll come forward a little bit. Yeah, I like that. Focusing in on that guitar part. I like the guitar to be a little bit louder there. Nice. It's probably going to be a pretty 100 hertz heavy track in the end. Just making it abundantly clear here. But I like that rhythm guitar tone. Yeah, I think it sounds pretty crunchy and fat. Ooh, very aggressive. But realize that you are alone on the stage. More than wrapped up in yourself. And yes, I know you're confused. You're missing life in front of you. This is not the end. You are more than what you. I found background vocals, boys. This is not the end. I know that you will overcome. All right, so there's a lot of peaking at like 900 hertz-ish, so I just want to make sure that I tame that a little. You're wrapped up in yourself, and yes, I know you're confused. You're missing life in front of you. It's also lacking brightness, so this probably was a dynamic. You are more than what you've done. This is not the end. I know that you will overcome. All right, so now it's a little bit neater. My friend, you're wrapped up in yourself, and yes, I know you're confused.
You're missing life in front of you. This is not the end. You are more than what you've done. This is not the end. I know
filthy.
that you will overcome.
All right.
I'm sorry, my friend. You're wrapped up in yourself.
I do like to saturate the vocals a little bit as well.
I'm sorry, my friend. You're wrapped up in yourself. And yes, I know you're confused. You're missing life in front of you. This is not the end. You are more than what you've done. This is not the end. I know that you will.
It's almost too
Overcome.
dynamic. So I'm gonna put a distressor on it real quick. Give it a little bit more.
Sorry, my friend, you're wrapped up in yourself. And yes, I know you're confused. You're missing life in front of you. This is not the end. You are more than what you've done. This is not the end. I know that you will overcome.
There we go. So now it stands out a lot more. Let me see if I can,
I'm sorry, my friend, you're wrapped up in yourself. And yes, I know you're confused. You're missing life in front of you. This is not the end. You are more than what you've done. This is not the end. I know that you will overcome.
That's catchy as heck. Alright, so I'm assuming, oh yeah, ambient synth. There we go. I knew something was missing from the song the whole time.
I'm sorry, my friend, you're wrapped up in yourself. And yes, I know you're
Those vocals are delightfully dry.
missing life in front of you.
That's why it's time to put a little bit of a delay on it.
You are more than what you've done. This is not the end. I know that you will overcome. Sorry, my friend, you're wrapped up in yourself. And yes, I know you're confused. You're missing life in front of you. This is not the end. You are more than what you've done. This is not the end. I know that you will overcome.
Nice. So we got a little delay there.
More than I'm sorry, my friend. You're wrapped up in yourself. And yes, I know you're confused. You're missing life in front of you. This is not the end. You are more than what you've done. This is not the end. I know that you will overcome.
I feel like the only thing anybody ever really needs on screaming is gain reduction. It's almost unfair at this point.
Once you sit down, you cannot decide. Watching the steps you live when you die.
I'm sorry, my friend. You're wrapped up in
Allowed to be
I do want to crush it a little more, I guess.
for something when you reach your demise. Allowed to be loud again. They will watch you suffer, they will watch you back. We will bury your ashes into the
Once you see death, then you cannot decide. Watching the steps you live when you die.
You're dead before you cannot destroy your warriors.
Sorry about that. Gotta do the essing.
Destroy your warriors. I'm sorry, my friend. You're wrapped up in yourself. And yes, I know you're confused. You're missing life in front of you. This is not the end. You are more than what you've done. This is not the end. I know that you will overcome.
Oh yeah, that ambient synth is working hard, boys.
Alone on the stage. Alone on the stage.
Alright, so that particular one scream needs a little something. So let me toss it over here and call it affected scream. Just so I can give it a huge explosion thing of, like, passion. Drag some of the same effects over for the most part. However, I'm also going to use this lo-fizer. Oh yeah, that's that good stuff that everybody loves. Oh. Alright, cool. So now that we have that, I'm going to distort it.
Alone on the stage.
And then I have to give it some kind of you know, like a stage reverb. Because the important part is that it does sound kind of like being alone on a stage. I don't know how else to describe that. So let's give there. Cool. So I'm assuming that, yeah, there's leads on that part. Alright, but in the meantime, let's make sure that I get these background vocals in the go.
bury your ashes into the
Once you see death, then you cannot decide. Watching your steps, you live when you die.
You're dead before you can understand. I have no weakness.
Wow, so I'm just gonna hard pan a lot of that stuff.
Die.
You're dead before you can understand. I have no weakness.
Haha, yes.
And you won't be alone on the yard. What one the dying words of a man? The one that killed him, his casket unopened.
Okay, so those are supposed to be in the regular scream one, I imagine. So I made a mistake. Sue me.
What's the season of blood? You're like a man who lives. Man who lives for the shop. Flick of the flame will break out low. What's the season of blood? You will live, you will drown. Because the world doesn't care about what you love. It doesn't.
Okay, cool.
The
So
world doesn't care about what you love.
I need to give these backgrounds.
Bury your ashes into the
Once you see death, then you cannot decide. Watching your steps, you live when you die.
You're dead before you can understand. I have no weakness.
These are background vocals, so they don't have to be as big as everything else. And with that note, I want to make sure that there's enough compression here in varying stages that all these different,
To see death and you cannot decide. Watching your
all these vocals can blend a little more seamlessly.
dead before you can understand. I have no weakness. Watching your steps, you live when you die. You're dead before you can understand. I have no weakness.
I also can do a little bit of crazy stuff compression-wise.
Live when you die. You're dead before you can understand. I have no weakness. Watching your steps, you live when you die. You're dead before you can understand. I have no weakness.
So if you can have a little bit of that pumpiness going on because it's a background vocal. It helps to emphasize the rhythm of the vocal itself as well, which can be pretty cool.
You live when you die. You're dead before you can understand. I have no weakness.
Yeah, okay, I'm just gonna boop.
You cannot see death and you cannot decide. Watching your steps, you live when you die. You're dead before you cannot decide. You're the weakness.
I'm sorry, my friend, you're wrapped up in yourself. And yes, I know you're confused. You're missing life in front of you. This is not the end, you are more than what you've done. This is not the end, I know that you will overcome.
No way. Okay, cool. So this is a main vocal as well. Let me just put that somewhere up here so that it treats it like a main vocal. You know, sometimes I wonder, you know? Cool.
That you will overcome. As time overcome. See the curtain curl as time withers away. Overcome. See the curtain curl as time withers away. Go ahead and take your bow, but realize that you are alone on the stage.
Cool. So that's got a pretty interesting feel. Right, so now we get to the meat and potatoes of the day. The lead guitar parts, the guitar solos. It's been almost an hour. Hopefully everything's been looking clean on your guys' end.
My friend, you fucking run to ruin yourself.
Whoa, bad words.
Confused. You're wrapped up in yourself.
Oh, I love that tone. It's so pretty. Sounds like a tone I would probably choose, to be honest. I just need to make sure that it doesn't fight with the main vocals, really. And doesn't conflict with the snare. We just make a small boy with that. Because if there's enough low end woof, then it could get in the way of the snare. See right there, it's getting awfully close, which is why I had to make the little tweak. This should fit into the mix a little bit more.
What you've done.
so I'm also going to saturate this a little bit so it fits in more with everything else in the mix. So now it just kind of sits there. Fitting into the background, which is okay. Alright, so I want this to actually be an even fatter kick. Sorry. I should have warned you before, ahead of time. Alright, so that's at about 70 hertz. There we go. Alright, yeah, I want it to be even fatter than it was before.
I hear them, his casket unopened. Now what in yourself makes you doubt you're not the same? No one beside you, you're right for the cry. I'm sorry, my friend, you're out to pin yourself. And yes, I know you're confused. You're missing life in
Yeah, sorry about that. Stage is a weird one.
but realize that you are alone on the side.
What I can do is get rid of just that main part.
Realize that you are alone on the side.
And that way, it's cool. Oh, I love those lead parts. Those harmonized leads, so pretty. Is there also a guitar solo going on during this part? Oh, yeah. Alright, so this is beautiful. Now it doesn't have to worry about conflicting with the vocals. So if you notice, what I'm doing is I'm just really driving it into a compressor limiter to saturate. All right, so I think it's getting there. I do feel like the main vocals do need a little bit of a different flavor to them.
You're out to pin yourself, and yes, I know you're confused. You're missing life in front of you. This is not the end. You are more than what you've done. This is not the end. I know that you will overcome.
I want it to have more body. That's the thing. I want it to have like a fatter low end.
Sorry, my friend, you're wrapped up in yourself. And yes, I know you're confused. You're missing life in front of you. This is the end you want. What you've done. This is not the end. I know that you will overcome.
There we go. Haha, yes.
Once you see death and you cannot decide. Watching the steps you live when you die. You're dead.
Oh, that's sounding way cleaner. All right, sanity check. Little different. All right. So the important thing with the sanity check that I'm trying to do is figure out how I've changed the tone, if at all, or if I've just brought out the characteristics that were already inherent in the original tracks. And I feel like I've been accomplishing that goal. All right, so I'm thinking it's starting to sound pretty natural, pretty good. Let me see if there's any other tracks I still have to work on, and see if it's easy enough to hear the backgrounds. Alright, so I feel like we're pretty much close there. I quite like it. For the rest of it, keep in mind I'm in headphones, so the frequency response I'm hearing might be a little different from what you guys are hearing, which is why I fully intend to use a template for myself and introduce the elements one by one as I see what I want, what I don't want, and what is the most helpful during this process. Some might call it mastering, some might call it whatever. I, for one, would like to believe that it is the just the process of tweaking and making sure that it sounds good for everybody, not just myself. All right. Woo-wee. All right, so coolio. I suppose I'm not going to use the tape then. Let's just use the match EQ and nothing else for the time being. Woo! Alright, I'm gonna mute it for the time being, just so that it doesn't have to do that. Sorry about that. My stream rig's a little weird. I'm testing out some new hardware, and with that comes some discrepancies sometimes. Alright, so what I'm doing is taking a reference with the match EQ, and okay. So it looks like, for the most part, it's solid. I'm just looking at a little bit of excitement in some of those areas, and a little bit of a carving out in that low end. Which makes sense, because I'm in headphones, so it's very likely that I did, in fact, cause myself some aggravation, or at least grief, by not having a proper low-end monitoring system. So there's a lot of stuff, I suppose, in that range that could be tweaked. But in the meantime, let me check where the crossover point would be. I'd say about 7K-ish. Alright, drive that. Ba-da-da-dum. While I'm driving that, and making sure that the mix is like about there, probably. I would imagine. I'm also going to oversample, push a little bit of those low mids, a little bit of those high mids, maybe a little bit more than the other, and the bass just a tiny bit, just so I can have that tiniest bit of saturation there. And then let's try this again. So what I want to do is see if that's changed anything about the curve that I'm using the reference for, and hopefully that does, just a little bit. Yes, okay, so I've gotten it to match a little bit closer, which means I can now do some fun tweaks. One more, just that little mag EQ band. I'd imagine if I push 40 kilohertz up by like 5, that's going to get me exactly where I want. Now then. All right, so it's analyzing once again. And as it's analyzing, let's see. Oh, wow. Even more so? Huh. Okay, cool. So we're at about where I would expect us to be, pretty close to the reference, which means, for the most part now, I can do the stuff I want to do. Input attenuation.
What were the dying words of this man? No one to hear them, his casket unopened. Now what in yourself makes you doubt you're not the same? No one beside you, you're right for the cry. I'm sorry, my friend, you're about to pin yourself. And yes, I know you're confused.
Alright. Yeah, that tape's nice, but have you tried tape?
This is not the end, I know that you will overcome.
Alright, cool. Allowed to be again. For something when you reach your demise.
There's 600. So I can boost that by a little bit.
Once you see death and you cannot decide, watching the steps you live when you die. You're dead before you cannot decide why you're going.
So I'm gonna do some multi-band compression here.
You're bound to pin yourself, and yes, I know you're confused. You're missing love.
I'm actually gonna do it
This is nothing.
with 5 bands
What you've done. This is
so that I can kinda
that you will overcome. Now see the curtain call.
tweak the
Others away. Go ahead and take.
image of it a little bit.
But realize that you are alone on the You fucking run to build your soul. And if I know you're confused, you're missing voice in front of you. This is something you are more than what you've done. This is something I know that you will.
Alright, so let's hear how that little tweaking has affected it.
Dreams, your desires, your thoughts, your prayers or your plans.
Alright, so I feel like it's pretty close now.
Little blind, and you won't be alone until you're
Now let's compress it a little bit to bring out that actual image to blend the whole thing a little bit more. Sounds a little more healthy. Now for my favorite part. Getting commercial loudness. Although first, I want a little bit more of that in the guitar. And a little bit more of that in the bass, because the mid range is a little bit lacking in my opinion. It's about to get loud. Warning. I'm gonna turn it down a little bit on the master bus for you guys, just so you can see how loud we get it, and then I think we should be done for the most part. Alright, a little bit of limiting. A little bit more. The key is to use a lot of little things so that it only brings up overalls a little bit at a time, instead of compressing a ton at any given time. Oh yeah, that's like commercially loud right there. Now, if you guys would like, I can actually do a A-B of that. Completely unmixed. So that sounds a little bit more full, right? That sounds a little bit bigger, a little bit more aggressive. Keep in mind, I've turned it down volume-wise. And since I'm mixing in a pair of really old Sonys, I have no idea whether or not that's a great mix, but I hope it comes out and is pretty clear, that the elements are all there, that it sounds decent enough. I mean, it's been like, what, an hour and 15 minutes, so I think we did a good amount of work in that time. Hopefully next time somebody else sends me something. I appreciate my one friend who actually sent me this track so that I could mix it, but I also would love for more people to send me more tracks for mixing, because at the end of the day, that's what I do this for. I don't stream just because I want to mix in front of a camera or on YouTube, but I stream because I want to be able to interact with you guys and get some feedback and constructive criticism as it's happening, and maybe suggestions for fun, weird stuff that I can do that really doesn't hurt anybody, but it's just fun to do. Like, the one time a guy asked me to put a chorus on a snare, and you know what? I did. I blended it in. It sounded wild, but it fit the song. So, hey, whatever works. I'm going to render this out and send it to the guy who put it together for me and see if he's willing to send me a version of his so that we can do a comparison, because I personally love doing that kind of stuff. So, let's start this render, and I'm Phil from One Wall Studio, doing the first stream I've done in forever, and I am signing out. Thank you so much, everybody. If you have any concerns or comments, whatever, please leave them in the comment section below, because I could really use them right around now. I've been going absolutely stir crazy due to the whole, not being able to see people or do anything or talk to people, whatever thing with quarantine and all that. So I've been feeling it hard. So thank you so much for watching, especially if you watched all the way to the end. Whew, I appreciate it so much. So thanks a lot, take care, and always keep learning. I know I do. All right, thank you, everybody. Good night.